This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Do you mind if I open and launch it to you? Whatever you want. Why, thank you. We are two perfect people to be doing it together because we have different styles, and I can't wait to hear yours. Good morning, everyone.
I have no clue what I'm going to say.
It'll come out of you. So, as you guys know, the corporate does these events, these summits, where they bring in the best speakers to present to everybody. People pay a lot of money. They fly into different areas to get some little nuggets of information. We're able to provide that right in our backyard because we got two exceptional agents who are be able to share with us and are very open to sharing. One of our core values, seeking mastery of self and others, always helping yourself get better and trying to improve and also helping others, but also collaborative culture. And those two resonate strongly with these two people. We've got Greg Maffei over here. How long have you been in the business?
I don't like to say, but I'm a licensed agent since 1990.
1990.
And
okay.
a broker since 97.
Excellent. And Gary Kooba, now world famous due to Fox News. So last night being on discussing the housing market on Fox News, he was able to get some world exposure. We have no idea how they got these signed.
It's because I watch Sean Hannity every night.
There you go. Social media.
They know
tracking.
who you are. Exactly.
Me and Sean.
So Gary Kooba, how long have you been in the business?
Too long.
Too long. Okay. So both of them have their own style. Both of them have their own process, but they're here to share with us a little bit. And really, your questions, you have unfiltered access to these guys. So ask any questions you want. They're not required to answer every question, but they're here as a wealth of knowledge. Bring what you got. I'm going to start off with Greg. Why don't you introduce
If
yourself?
this is going to be one of the questions, I wear boxers.
Wow, we went into oversharing in 30 seconds. Back to you, Gary.
All right, everybody at once. Let's go, Brandon.
This is a political, come on. Although you and I are both on the same.
About 1 minute, we're off the rails.
All right, so I told Gary and I know each other on a personal level. I so respect this guy, and I was looking more forward to doing this with him because I just want to hear about his process. But I've said for years, as not a compliment, this is the greatest hobby I could have, and that's why us here talking about flow, and I think when he gets into his process, a lot of it is for me is instinct. And maybe what I've done in business in the past, not regimented ninja, which flow comes from. Although I have over the years gone to Ferry, gone to Buffini. I was coached by Buffini, and then embraced ninja when I came here. And I'd say I take little things from all of those things, and I'm happy to share them with you today. But neither of us, I believe, will be like the teachers, like the Ryan Seacrest teacher that's going to tell you everything that we do. But I think hopefully you get something out of it. And how I wanted to start it, and then he wants to free flow. So there's the flow here, free flow. So I'm going to hand it off to Gary, and then I'm going to ask him some questions as we go on, just because I'm so interested in his process. But one of the most telling things for me over the years in real estate was I was at a banquet once, a end of the year banquet for people that were the top earners at my old company, which is Remax Estate Properties, and the matriarch there said, "All right, everybody stand up and tell us one thing that the most prominent thing in your business that helps you be successful." And it was a big room. There were probably 40 people in there. And before they got to me, I swear to God, every single person was humble, which I didn't want to see. They said, "I can't teach any of you anything." And I'm a pop-off. So when it came to me, I go, "Bullshit, I can teach you something." I go, "But more importantly, you can teach me something. So start talking." And I'll share with you one thing, and I want you guys just to think, after we're done, this is not just us talking. I want to go around this room because I thought it was such a great exercise. And I want each of you to tell us one thing that you do that helps you build your business. And I'll share mine from that. My favorite one that now I use was from another agent at that discussion. And that person told me, take a look at your past clients and set up a lunch every week of the year with one of your past clients. Because if you go through Ninja, if you guys are learning Ninja or any of the other methods, that's one thing that you'll know is your best business comes from referrals or from your old clients. Not that they're going to buy any more than every, what do the stats say? Every 7.5 years there's turnover, which is great if we can get that business every 7.5 years. But even more importantly, when we get into this part, I'll share with you guys something motivationally about how open this business is for us to get business. And it's not that hard if you look at certain things and if you stay positive. So anyways, mine for that is, and I try to do this, every week I try to have a lunch with one of my past clients. And if you do that, I'm probably 50 on it for the year. So I get about 25 lunches out of past clients, and it invariably leads to business. So anyways, that's I'm just opening with that because I want you guys to think about the one thing that you can share with all of us. Don't worry about other people stealing your ideas. Give them your ideas and encourage them to give you their ideas too, because there's plenty of business for all of us. Even if we swim in some of the same neighborhood pools, there's plenty of business. So anyways, think about that. Since this discussion is about flow, before I hand over to Gary, I'll just tell you that speaking of motivations, the things that I just printed a couple of pages out of Ninja that I've done once. A lot of this resonates with me, as I said, just from past experiences with other coaching companies. But the couple of things that really motivate me out of the flow process is one thing that I didn't mention this. So 10 to 20 transactions a year come from somebody you know. That's amazing. And the thing that I kick my butt out of most is when any of those really went to another agent. It happens a lot. But if we're good at keeping with our database, and I'll talk about that a little bit later too, hopefully the majority of those 10 to 20 per 100 per year are going to go to you. So that's one thing that I want you guys to hold on to, that there's that much business out there for you. Another is going to take a little more time, so I'll do that a little later. So I'm going to hand it over to Gary, and I've got questions for you, but I'm not going to ask them yet. Why don't you just free flow right now and tell us about yourself?
I want to preface my contribution today just by sharing with you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to share, my experiences and that sort of thing. People ask me, can I come to your open house and shadow you and things like that? And my humble suggestion is don't mimic anybody. All of us are blessed with our own personality. And so, when Ricky and I decided to join forces and for me to come over here a few years back, it's all about being a contribution versus being an energy suck. And I learned a long time ago that if I can be in a collaborative environment, which is, Ricky and I were talking, he goes, I'm trying to build real estate Camelot, which means everybody's feeding in to this wonderful environment. And that's why I'm so excited to be here, be with you all in this moment, and as far as being a real estate agent in this company, because of that collaborative, contributive type energy that we all get to enjoy. I think where we lose is when we become covert, or we stand in the shadows thinking that we got to hold on to this, whatever that is. And if you do that, and I've witnessed it with agents who don't want to tell you what they do, that's based on fear, like they're going to lose something. It's either a foundation of love or it's fear. There's no in between. And so if we come from a foundation of love, that represents faith in ourselves and each other, hence the collaborative environment. that we enjoy here. And so when someone walks through the door at an open house and you're the agent, and if you're sitting on the couch and you're not present to their every single move and voice inflection, I think you're defeating the purpose of why you're there. Because why we're there is to be of service, not just to our sellers, but the people that are searching for help. And that's a topical example of what this business is truly about. And I'm going to give you an example. Years ago, I was doing a flip in the Riv, and it was a busy open house. And my broker at the time wanted to come and witness. He goes, I don't know what the hell you do, how you can pick these people out. So there was, I don't know, 12 couples there, something like that, 12 different groups. And I think God's just blessed me with the ability to sense when someone is sincere or they have a true desire or a true need. And there were two couples that I could feel it. And so I spoke with both of them and interacted and built an immediate rapport, because it's capture and conversion at open house. It's capture and conversion when you're on the phone. It's capture and conversion when we're interacting with our clients. And so the capture is to earn trust. The conversion is being in action to have their faith in you to help them along that path in order to accomplish their goal. And it's not just about buying a house. It's about the complete service, what that presents. So to finish that example, I ended up selling the listing that I was on to one of those two couples and listing their house, and the other couple, who are still clients to this day, I've sold them 7 houses over the last 23 years. And what I did is I called the other 3 agents that were doing open house that day, because we were all in the Riv. And I wanted to see how their open houses went, and I wanted to track what was going on with these folks that I was fortunate enough to capture and work with to this day. And so I called the other 3 agents and I said, "How was your open house?" It's just a bunch of looky-loos. They all said in unison. And I asked the people that became my clients, "When did you come to my open house and what did you think of the other houses?" And they said, "Well, you were our last stop." They both said it. So either they're watching golf while they're doing open house, or they just weren't focused. And to me, and I'm going to repeat it on purpose, that's a disservice. I think we have to be present to each other's needs as far as colleagues and being of service to each other, because it feeds this incredible environment. And that's what I'm so grateful to be a part of. So as you all probably know, I'm not a form and function type person. I'm just going to do what I think is appropriate in being a contribution to you, to my clients, to my future clients, and to people in my life. When my kids were involved in activities, I made that a priority. So I didn't make as much money, and I had a great quality of life. I never missed my daughter's ballet practices, let alone recitals, and you can never replace that. And I coached my son's baseball teams for years. And he knows that if you want to increase your chances of going to heaven, you root for the Dodgers. We all know that. I mean, that's a given. That's a constant. That's not a variable. So
can I stop you and poke into some things you say just to try to expand on this with these guys?
Yes.
Okay, because it's going to relate. He and I are the same in faith, maybe the same in politics, but very different in how we work. So I'm glad that you touched on one thing, and I want to get more things out of you. He touched on open houses. So he obviously is a great person to listen to open houses. I'm not going to tell you anything about open houses because I hate them and I don't do them. And so I don't do them because of what you said about your kids. For me, weekend is family time. I'm not telling you guys to follow me. All I'm saying is I'm not a good person at getting people. I'm very humble in that I don't think if I meet somebody at an open house that I'm not good at persuading them that, hey, I know you just met me, but you got to believe me, and I'm the greatest guy in the world. I'm the best agent in the world. That's out of my comfort zone to try to get business out of that. So I'd rather give it to other wonderful people in our company that like to do open houses. So mine is more about, and I'll get more into mine, database. One of yours is open houses, obviously, but that's not it. It's just not open houses. So if you would share with these wonderful people, what else helps build your empire? How do you get your business other than just open houses?
You know, I remember, I don't know, it was a year or two ago, and I was going through a slump. I hadn't done a deal in a little while, and one of our colleagues called me and said, "So what's up? You seem a little down." And I said, "Well, I get clinically depressed if I don't do an escrow a week." So he goes, "You're an idiot." I go, "Yeah, that was established years ago." So we talked about faith and faith in faith in God and faith in ourselves, and that the fact that the pie that Greg's referring to, the universe provides. There's plenty for all of us to eat. It's just that how are we going to immerse ourselves in that opportunity to be of service to each other? Love one another as I've loved you. That's the credo that I love. I just love that. And so, and I'm not here to tell you about our Catholic faith. I'm here to tell you what my experience is in being a contribution versus an energy suck. And so, part of what I do is everywhere is an opportunity, but it's not an opportunity to make money in my mind. It's an opportunity to be of service. So you get the distinction. That's really important because a used car salesman's there to make a buck at midnight on New Year's Eve. He's going to want to try and sell you a car. A true good person is of service because they love it. They love being of service. That's what we're called to do. That's going with the flow. If I'm going to tie in, because I'm not a ninja guy, I don't knock it, but I don't know anything about it. But if you want to tie into the flow, my experience has been is that, you don't manufacture passion. It doesn't work that way. That shows up as being artificial. The authenticity of owning the opportunity and loving it is passion. And so I love what I do. I love my job. And so I'm at Trader Joe's in line and just start talking, and stuff happens on the golf course, even with my bad back, which I haven't played in a while. But, everywhere I go is an opportunity.
So what do you do after clearly? So what I'm getting out of Gary, and we've never had these discussions. We've had lunches. We talk more about religious stuff and just being. But we're here at a business meeting, and so I want to get into this a little bit with you and fire any questions that you can at me, or I'll just tell you my process. But your passion, and I know this by knowing you, it exudes you and it makes those people, it's not manufactured, and it makes those people trust you. What do you do with that? You meet somebody at Trader Joe's. After I meet somebody, I literally will, here's where my organizational part of my business and my life get into it. I don't have a great memory, so I'll immediately put them in my phone. I'll tag it in a calendar for 2 weeks later to reach out to them, whether it's an email or a text, just say it was great meeting you, and try to take that to a next level where my process is, in a very non-creepy way, I got to think of a new way to say this, touching people in my database in multiple ways every year, but not too many ways, because then I think it's counterproductive if you're constantly in some way emailing, calling, getting in touch with people too much. I really err on doing it less than that. So what do you do when you meet these people? And you've already told us, and we know you have a natural process, not one that you learn in a book. What do you do? How do you keep track of these people? Because I find if I don't keep track of people, they're going to be one of the 1 to 20 a year that I know that use another agent. I need to keep with them. What do you do?
Well, first of all, you got to accept the fact you're not going to bat 1,000. That people do things for their own reasons. And it absolutely crushes me inside when somebody that I know or worked with, and you see the listing come up on MLS with somebody else. It bothers me to no end. But I look in the mirror and take responsibility because either I didn't stay in touch or they just didn't want to work with me or whatever reason, and you got to move on. But to answer your question, Greg, is that I have found that there is an opening that they will reach out to you and say, you know, it was great meeting you, by the way, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when you move to another level, and that's when you respond with whatever they're looking for. It might just be a good garage door company. It might not be about selling their house or buying a house. And I think that's really the key, is that I got to be of service. It's the distinction where I got to do open house this weekend versus I get to. And that distinction is so clear to me. I remember, and I'm going to go off on a tangent just for a second. My spiritual director many years ago, he noticed that I was down and stuff. I go, you know, things just aren't going my way. And there was a recession. There was, you know, just financial duress, all kinds of stuff going on. This is, when was this? Early 90s, I think. And so he said, well, you know, what are you doing about it? And I said, well, you know, I say my prayers 15 minutes a day and that sort of thing. And he goes, so you're spending 15 minutes a day in prayer and meditation. What are you hearing? And I lost it, because I thought to myself, I was telling the creator of the universe my plan, and I wasn't listening. And then I took it to a business level. I wasn't listening to my clients. I was telling. And so that receivership of their need is where it made all the difference. And that's what made the difference in my career. Because I struggled and bumbled and made mistakes, and I still do to this day. I'm probably the poster child for mistakes. But I get more conversion into being of service because I'm a better listener, and to understand what they're reaching out for as far as I need this. And that also, you have to be careful, because the topical, oh goody, we're going to rush into a listing or rush into escrow, that's not what it's about. It's about being such a good listener that you are able to process and receive what they're really looking for. And that takes practice. Just like I love doing open house, Greg doesn't like it, whatever, then go do something else, you know. But I've had a lot of practice, which has enabled me to probably fine tune the capture and conversion process. That is a feeder of my business. It's not the only one, like Greg said, but you know, it's a part of it.
So let me, again, I'm only interrupting because I want to expound on some stuff that you say that'll be good for everybody.
Yep.
He doesn't even know it, and he's so humble. Any of you guys that have done Ninja, he just described the first part of flow, which is gratitude, meditation, literally. This stuff. How many, raise your hands just for the heck of it, who has done a Ninja class here? All right, so most of you guys. Again, I've already told you, I take bits and pieces of it. I'm in no way a regimented ninja person. But there are things I take. And his whole being is his gratitudes. And that's huge. And that's, Gary, whether you know it or not, I think you know it, obviously. It resonates with you when you are just dealing with people in life. And if they find out what you do, which you just let it exude because you're proud of that, about what you do in real estate, we all, I don't never know which one of these things I learned it from, which one of these, you know, seminars or coaching things, but being a concierge for others is a way to stay in touch with people. So his is super altruistic. Mine might be more business oriented. And maybe that's what I can learn from Gary, is be deeper in the beings that we are. And I am a faith-filled being, but I don't know that I necessarily exude that for business. So I think, Gary, that's a huge thing that works for you. And just so we'll teach you something, all of us, from the Ninja process, whether you take it or not. That's one thing that I loved about that versus a very robotic the fairy family processes, which I find to be unfaithful. You know, the going and not worrying about stealing business from other people, I think is crap. That's the fairy model. Or, calling expired listings. You know what I do? I call the agent from expired listings if I have somebody for it. If it's a year or 2 years ago, I call the agent. They didn't get to sell that property, and they put a lot of money and time into it, and they have a conduit to that person. So if I have somebody that might want to buy a property that didn't sold, I go right to that agent. I don't go to the phone book and or the proverbial phone book and try to find the person.
I'll give you another example of that too. That happened to me when I first joined Vista. I got a call from a mother and a daughter, an adult daughter, and they had their property listed with Chris Dog Adlam. And so they were bemoaning the fact of certain things about, the listing wasn't going right, and they were bad-mouthing him, and they were pursuing a question to me about taking over the listing. And so I just listened very carefully. And when they were done, I asked them, "Are you done?" And so the mother says, "Yeah." And there was a pregnant pause. And I said, "When was the last time you looked in the mirror?" And the daughter goes, "What are you talking about? And who do you think you are?" And I said, "Have you taken responsibility for why your property hasn't sold?" And I said, "Why are you blaming Chris Dog?" Just like that. And so there was another pause, and the daughter says, "All right, so what do you got?" And I said, "No, it's what do you got? You're calling me to badmouth my bro, and I'm telling you that maybe you need to look in the mirror and take responsibility. Based on what I see, you overpriced your damn house. How is that Chris's fault? Except maybe he was being a gentleman, which there's very few of us left, by the way. And, maybe you need to just really take that into, context."
And he's a pro, and take his advice.
The guy's awesome, and he's my friend. So they called me back, and they said, "Thank you for being so direct with us. We've never met anybody like you." I said, "Well, you're lucky, because they broke that mold. When I was born, the doctor looked at my parents and said, 'We have a no return policy.' Sorry." So, and I got more in fulfillment out of that dynamic, out of that situation, and being a service to those ladies and to my bro Chris, than I would in something that was being selfishly contained by me, because it was a contribution, and it feeds that collaborative energy that we're all privileged to be a part of. And so, Greg, why don't you give us an example of what you've done in an unselfish way? What are the traits that you do and try to follow? And we're human, because we're going to make mistakes, but what's an example that you use in your business model like that to be of service?
I think I'm a blunt instrument like you are. I mean, nothing comes right of mind, but I just want to say something to you're being direct with those people. There are a lot of people, we need to hold our guns, by the way. We're the pros. And I have had discussions with people before, and this is the most fun thing ever, by the way. Again, God, all these little things that I've gotten from past seminars and talks. One thing that is so prevalent is in my life is firing people that are toxic. So there's not one deal worth dealing with somebody that might, we don't know what happened with Chris. Chris is a tough guy, and I'm sure he told them like it is, and they just didn't agree. And again, we do work for these people. So if we choose to stay with them, we can give them our advice, and if they don't take it, we have a strategy over time to hopefully get them over to our side. But I've used the saying before. I said, "Listen, I respect you. Please respect me. You hired me, and treat me like I'm your attorney or I'm like your accountant. This is my job. I'm a professional. If you don't like what I say, then we might not be the right people for each other." So I don't do it in a mean way. I just do it in a way that it's not worth it to me to be with somebody that's going to cause anguish and consternation in my life for a month period.
Well,
So,
with that, there's a fine line too between being a true professional and or acquiescing into a doormat. So, we're not called to do that. And that's where severing relationships with people that are unreasonable and maybe they're not true in their desires for what topically is being discussed. I remember doing an open house, and a man walked in, and about 10 feet behind him, his wife was walking in. And I'm going. So his arms were like this, and he looked at me, and I'm just looking. And then he averted his glance away from me. So I looked right at him. I waited till he looked at me, and I said, "For what?" And his wife went like this to me, 10 feet behind me. Yeah. And I sold that guy a house a month later and listed his house in North Torrance.
Nice.
He said, "No one has ever talked to me like that." Now, so that's a very precarious position to put yourself into because that can backfire. And
yes, it can.
and I don't care. That's the diff.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think about me. I don't. Now, if you need the shirt off my back, I'll give it to you. I would walk through a wall for you. And my clients know that. But if you have an opinion of me that is whatever, that's between you and God. It's not of any concern of mine because I own in my heart that authenticity to be of service to help you. Michelle and I have had a lot of nice chats, and she's been doing floor time and stuff, and it's been great. She's helped me more than she knows. But I think that, we owe it to each other. We're called to do this sort of collaborative, formal environment, as well as just jumping in the car with each other and going on broker's tour and speaking about what's up, and I just see the opportunities every day. That's why I cut my work week down to 7 days a week. My kids are adult. They got their own lives. They're not in Little League anymore. Hopefully I'll be coaching grandkids someday, but they got to get married first.
Let's dive into that a little bit since, again, this is a flow discussion. I want to get into some specifics, so I'm going to gear us back into that way. So you mentioned your kids are grown. I found that some of I'll give my kids credit, and they'll get an inheritance, but I won't give them the credit verbally now. One's in high school and one just started college. But most of my business came from when I was back in commercial real estate. My broker at the time said, if you're in the office, and it's a little different in residential, but if you're in the office during what they called golden hours, which was 9 to 5, you're not doing your job. And he meant you got to be out there meeting with people. And back in the day, that meant walking buildings. We called it wearing out our shoe leather, where I was actually cold calling. And in residential, it'd be like door knocking. So literally, I would go in buildings and go and try and meet office managers. And it was horrible. It was a wonderful learning experience that gave me tenacity, but it was horrible. So drill down to what we do as realtors today in residential real estate. Everything for me starts with my database. How do I build it? How do I manage it? In that way, my kids just being, a typical day when my kids were in grade school was I'd get in the office at 7:30 after dropping them off at their schools, and I would not be in the office past 4 o'clock because I'd be coaching their sports. And it was an amazing way for me to meet people. And in this area in Hermosa and Manhattan Beach, and my church is American Martyrs, which has 6,000 parishioners, you're going to meet people. And again, I'm not the guy that's always wearing the realtor badge. In fact, I get embarrassed when I'm at a party and somebody says, "This is my realtor, Greg Maffei." I go, "Well, I'm your friend, Greg Maffei. First of all, please don't start it with realtor, but I know what they're trying to do. They're so nice and they believe in me. They want to share that with others. And again, referrals. That's how we get our business. So just to drill down into the flow, database to me is my life. And this company, I have not taken advantage of what this company has to offer, and I'm just starting to. I'm unleashing my assistant on being in Erica's face almost daily on now how to get into I don't even know what it's called, back at you media. So I am trying to learn, and again, when we throw it to you guys the last half hour of this talk, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear some of the new school stuff that is working for you guys. I'm just not that proficient in it. So database, what do you do with your database? Do you do mailers? Do you do emails? Do you call?
I've had a residential farm in South Redondo for a long time, and it grew from 100 to 200 to 300 houses. And every October I give out pumpkins, and I did it for a long time. This is the first year I've not given out 1,500 pumpkins to the farm for many reasons. But
do you think it worked? Different name recognition.
Name recognition, maybe? Pumpkin Man worked.
I did that too, by the way, for a number of years, and I stopped doing it.
Yeah, and you know, I still do the newsletters and such, but I'm not proficient at it. The database, I hired somebody to start sending out my newsletters to the non-owner ox on my farm, and then to the people that I've done business with, and sending my newsletter out. But I'm getting ready. This week, I'm going to start doing a lot more handwritten notes to people that I think is a lot more impactful. And I do that as a regular habit, but now I'm gonna intensify it. I'm gonna take the time myself, because I'm finding that my business has changed. Our business has changed. And I'm not saying this in a prideful or boastful fashion, but I was usually carrying 15 to 20 listings at a time that were active on the market. A lot of it was new builds, a lot of it was remodels. That's diminished for various reasons. A lot of my builders are just saying, I'm not gonna, tie up my money for 3.5 years in the city of Manhattan Beach or Redondo Beach or Palos Verdes Estates. It's just, so we're gonna go in a different way. So I'm adapting and acclimating myself to that part of the business model, meaning that the rotation of capital is going to turn into flips. And I've been doing that a long, long time, as you all probably know, but, reaching out to the people that I meet with handwritten notes, I've always sent out something that expresses gratitude, but I'm going to raise that up a notch and reach out to people a little bit more that I've come in contact with and that are actually hungry for that sort of service and that information.
All right, so once again, you're a ninja and you don't even know it. So again,
whatever label you want to assign to it.
Again, ninja borrowed from the borrowed the best from the fairies and the Buffinis and all the others that are in the business too. So I do that too, and I've gotten more compliments from friends. I won't say clients. Clients, yeah, that means I've worked with them, but friends are clients too if they refer me business. So they all are. And I've gotten so many independent surprises that, dude, you wrote me a note. So just to get into my process, which again, I didn't invent, some of these companies like Ninja did, my database, I'm not great at it, but I've tried to force myself to do a minimum of 5 calls a day. And most of the time I get their voicemail, and that's fine, by the way. That's still an impression. And after I get their voicemail, I follow it up with an email. Just say, left you a message, was just checking in. It would be fun if we had time for everybody to kind of tell us your script. What's your script when you call? And we all say kind of the same thing. What's your script when you call somebody? You got like 10 seconds to do it, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to take too long. You don't want to, you're worried about what, whether you're bothering them. So what would it be if you pick up the phone?
If I were to call someone and just say, hey, was just thinking about you, was hoping to catch you, give me a call.
Great. So it doesn't even have to be business oriented.
Have a great day.
Right. Perfect. That's good. We all need to have that. and that will relax us when we make those calls too. So as far as handwritten notes are concerned, if I actually do talk to somebody, I write them a handwritten note and I send it to them, and those are so impactful. The other thing I do that I stopped doing, which was really impactful, on Mother's Day, I gave out roses. So I had my assistant go down to the flower mart and get them really cheap, and I'd usually do 100 to 150 and give them to my best clients and best friends. And as you can imagine, if you're a woman, it was very, very cool. I got a lot of compliments for doing that. And again, our businesses ebb and flow, and I kind of left that by the wayside too. But that's something that I may pick up again. And again, I did the pumpkins too. I didn't find that did much. But again, all that we do is for our recognition in a certain area or a certain type of database. So I don't think any of it's bad, but we all got to decide what we're going to spend our money on.
Yeah, and I think that you pick and choose what type of a process you want to do to reach out and touch people. My suggestion is that do something that you feel really good about. Play to your strengths, not your weaknesses. I hated cold calling, and I just wouldn't do it. I just didn't like it, and it was because I felt like I was asking and I was imposing, versus when someone comes to open house, or I'm giving pumpkins, or I'm giving newsletters, or whatever, that giving lowers that defensive wall. Here's another salesman. Here's another agent. And
real quick, that's not cold calling in my opinion. And I'll bring out some flow stats. Cold calling, to me, you're right. Cold calling has a 2,000 to 1. I don't know where they got these stats. 2,000 to 1 success rate. If you're calling people in your database that know you, and I build my database by people that know me, it's a much more high conversion
call.
rate. Totally.
Yeah,
it's a warm call.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I'll just call people and say, hey, we haven't chatted in a while.
Right.
What's up?
And that's why having it not, hi, call them to talk to you about real estate. Like, don't do that. They're your friends first, or they're your acquaintances, or however it is that you know them. Start off with that, and then get into, hey, at least this is how I do it. I don't like to bug my friends very often, but I do. I'm in real estate, and I want to just check and see what your situation is, and is there anything that I can do for you? And it might be, hey, I need a garage door company, and those are the things I love. I don't want to say guilt, but I love it when people feel like they owe you something back. So I always want to be the giver, because I want in the back of their mind, if they're as good as a person as I hope I am, they're going to remember that they kind of owe me something, and I want them to owe me in the form of real estate, and that's it. Whether
well, remember,
referring me,
if you become a one-stop shop, which that's a big deal. So when people call you and they need a vendor of any sort related to their home or construction or whatever, you become that one-stop shop. They're going to turn to you. That's been my experience over the years, is that I offer those services gladly, and that is just part of being a contribution, of giving. And so they need, a carpet cleaner. I got it. I got the guy. Little things like that, landscaping, roofing. I've filtered out the bad vendors, and I've kept the good ones.
They constantly change in mine. And I have a network of friends too. I after doing coaching with Buffini, I did coaching with, I hope you didn't mind me singing here, Rob McGarry. Rob and I, 15 years ago, I had done professional coaching, and he goes, hey, why don't we coach each other? And he goes, we both trust each other, and we're not going to, tell each other, or we're not going to use the information that each one of us gives. There's a bubble. We're going to be open books. And for about 1.5 to 2 years, we coached each other and told each other every deal we were doing. And if you know Rob, like Gary and I both do, we were both blunt with each other. We're like, dude, it's all about accountability, having somebody. So if you're not in a networking group, or don't have a group of other realtors that you like in your trust to share with, form your own, and use each other to be accountable.
Break the binds of covertness is one of the best things I can recommend, because I've watched those agents that walk around like a secret agent, and that's, like I mentioned, it's fear-based. and the release and the freedom that comes from sharing. Like Rob was a great example. I mean, what a tremendous example of great spirit and dedication and contribution, and following a regimented program for his real estate and his physical.
Yeah, talk about
fitness.
somebody that'll go details. Yeah, I think he was a former accountant. Go to one of Rob's speaking engagements, because that dude
He's
is
tremendous.
just boom, boom, boom. We mere mortals, we bow to him.
I don't hold a candle to Rob.
Right.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
And we all have our different styles, and I think that's the point too. Is when Ricky and Holly asked Greg and I to do this today, Greg is wanted to prep and do the questions that are on his sheet and stuff like that, and I said I don't.
He respectfully said, Greg, I got it.
When I was at my prior company, and again, not being prideful, but I went down to an office in Newport Beach Fashion Island because I was looking for deals, and I wanted to meet the agents and form a relationship with them down in South OC. And so I was in an office. There was about 150 people at this big office, gorgeous. And the manager who's running the show was going to give me 5 minutes at the end of the meeting to talk and introduce myself, Gary Kooba from Redondo Beach, blah, 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 blah. And so as he's finishing up his spiel, he said, look, everybody, I know the holidays are coming and it's going to be time to refuel and be with family and blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, by the way, this guy from Redondo Beach wants to introduce himself. So I got up and he made me wear a suit. Disgusting. I never saw so many pairs of Jimmy Choo shoes in my life. Oh, my gosh. So anyways, so I get up and I go, I'm Gary Kooba. And by the way, what he just said is the biggest crop of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. And so I saw an older gentleman walk into the lunchroom where half of them were in there eating bagels. He said, you better come out here. There's some nut getting ready to talk. And so I basically let him know that, look, I'm here because I'm hungry for biz. I want to help you and I want you to help me. And if you got deals, I want to know about them. And so that went for an hour and a half that day. And when I was done, they all lined up and were shaking my hand like I was some kind of a helper or something like that. It was hilarious. So I got a postcard about a month later on an email. It said, come here, Gary Kooba talk down at the headquarters, corporate headquarters in Costa Mesa. So I called my buddy Scott and I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, we committed you to talk in front of 2,000 people because they want to know what you do. And so I went down and my broker drove me and he goes, so what are you going to talk about? I said, hell, I don't know. So, that was pretty fun actually. And I did recite the St. Francis prayer in front of 2,000 people because that was part of what I believe in and what my experience is. And so today, Greg has his style, I have my style. And, I'm going to speak for my partner here. This is so fun. It's such an honor to be with you and to raise our level of attention to be of service to each other. That's what's really joyful today. And, I want it, and it's my hope that we can continue this. And so whenever you want to, bro, we'll open it up for questions. But
yeah,
I gotta tell you, this is a joyful experience.
I want to do the exercise that I mentioned at the beginning, but one thing that I want to do, you guys are all here for a reason. I see faces here that are people that do a ton of business too. So I love it because again, that's how I come into all these too. I can teach you something, but more importantly to me, you can teach me something. And that's what I want. And together we're all getting something out of it. So my thing here is just to be motivating, not knowing at what stage of all your careers you're in. Another thing that I picked up again from a talk at one point, and I wanted to share with you guys, I call the pyramid scheme. And it sounds negative because it's an Amway pyramid scheme, but it totally resonated with me. And the company's not even in existence anymore, but they came and talked at one of our real estate offices. And I'll totally simplify it. And here's what it is. All of us, you want to divide up your database in your sphere, and prioritize those. I call my A plus is literally people that I believe would die for me, my best friends. They will do anything for me, and I'll do anything for them. And so this pyramid exercise, if you're ever in a lull, and we all are, you got a couple of months, you're like, okay, that's when you really got to work hard and work overtime to generate business. And so if we had a whiteboard, I write this. So you just got to try to visualize this. Par down everybody that you know into four people in your market, just four. And you treat them like they are the kings and queens of the universe. And even these are people that you tell what you're doing too. So instead of making a phone call and beating around the bush until you talk about real estate, you go, listen, my business, it literally depends on you. And because they're one of your four favorite people, they're gonna understand it. And just show them all the love and attention that you can, from even buying them presents, even just let them know they are one of your four people. Now here's where, so you're a top line. You have these four people. It can be more, but I just want you to start with four, and then I'm going to show you how much money you can make off those four people. So those four people, if they always are thinking about you throughout the year, is it reasonable to assume that they will refer four friends that might be looking to buy or sell through a 1 year period? Yes? Okay, reasonable to assume that. Okay? Out of those four, let's just say conservatively, you get one deal out of each one of those four. So in your first year, you're going to get four deals, just paying extra attention to four people. In our market, that's about $25,000 a deal. You just made $100,000. It's that simple. And again, the four is for all of us, I think, that four is really like 20, but don't make it too big, because you really do want to give extra attention to all these people and let them know how vital they are to you, and how much you love them for it in all your own creative ways on how you do that. But just think of those four. And again, you expand to 8, you just made $200,000. I mean, it's not at all. This is such a wonderful business. Not that money should, be the end all be all, but we can make as much as we want. This guy right here, he's always in the top 3 or 4, which means he makes like 10 times more than any of us. And look how humble he is. It's freaking awesome. I love you. Anyway, and I want to learn more. I want to learn more from you. So don't be too cagey. So he touched on he does a lot of business with builders and flippers. I'm sorry, I didn't know that business is changing. You're still killing it. But look how smart he is in pivoting to another side of the business. And I always say that anybody that asks, that is looking to broaden themselves in this business, we could have 10 people up here. We could pull 8 of you up here, and we all, with the time, and we all talk about our business, and we all do business a little differently. Mine probably mirrors more the standard way that some of these coaching companies do, but that's just because I have that kind of a personality. My databases are my friends, literally, and that's why I don't like doing open houses, because I do like to be with my family. But again, in a couple of years, things are freeing up, and I probably will give it a go. You should put yourself in situations that are not your most comfortable situations, just to grow. Doesn't mean that's where maybe you're going to make most of your money. I agree with you also, is know what you do best and expound on that from a business standpoint.
I think, when I look back in the early 90s and early 2000s, that's when I had hair. I was handling REOs countrywide and then B of A. And I watched some guys in the business that was their whole ball of wax, was handling those foreclosure assets and the liquidation of distressed assets. And the challenge with that is, if you put all your eggs in one basket, what happens when it vaporizes? Well, you're going to go broke, because it changes. The business changes all the time. New builds are more and more challenging, and that's a tough dynamic. Gail and her husband can probably tell you about that. So, how do I adapt and acclimate to a changing environment? And I think the business model has to be diverse enough where you're always going to have the constant of ham and egg sales. I think Kyle's focused in Belmonte and the Hill, living there, kids, all the connections. That is a constant because there's always people that are going to want to buy and sell in that vein. Now, his kids are going to grow up and they're going to go off, and then there'll be other stuff that will flower from that and those relationships. And so, by being a welcoming committee to what the universe is going to bring to you and being able to receive it and then transport that into results and such. So, it changes all the time. And then there's going to be the ability to handle the ups and the downs. And that's a tough one because not everybody can do about 1,000. I don't know anybody. But, for me, I always get out of bed in the morning, and besides the gratitude and the prayers, it's like, how can I do a better job? And the night before, one of the things that I do is the house that I own and I took and transformed it in a remodel process is I am an amateur gardener. And so when I want to shut things down is I'll put on my classical music on my AirPods, and then I have a headlamp so that I can garden in the dark at night because I work a lot of hours. And my neighbors think I'm nuts, which I am. And so, but then from that peace and from that calm comes thoughts and ideas. And that's another form for me of prayer and meditation because it's being open and listening to what comes forth. So instead of putting it out there and telling the creator of the universe my plan, I'm trying to listen to what the things that the universe delivers to me. And then what's my interpretation and how do I work with that? And so it's very special. And so whether it's an open house or it's some other way through friendships or whatever, being that good listener and being the receiver of that information and the potential opportunities to be of service, I think that's where it's at. And that's the crux of what I've experienced in my many years in this business. I remember, the first half of my career messing up and just like scratching my head. And then when something clicked and I recognized that it was about being of service to others, that's when it changed. And it's changed to the degree that, I just love it when somebody calls and says, hey, I want to talk to you about listing my house. I get so excited and so fired up. And by the time I show up, and I'll give you another example.
Real quick, don't forget that, but I want to touch on something you just said because I think it's real important for all of us. You look at the rankings here that we incessantly throw at each other, and I think this company does that as a motivating thing, not as a pouring salt in our wounds when we're not up there. And you need to give yourself a break if you do have a lull, but you can't let it be a crutch. We all do. I mean, I'll admit right now, I don't think I'm making the top 15 this year. I've had a good year, but not a great year. But I'm not beating myself up. What it does for me, it motivates me. So I'm doing my prospecting for next year. And that happens. It all happens when we all have to take it in a way of motivation. Don't let it knock you off your horse. And again, it's so inspiring to you too. It's interesting. So you're getting out of building. I've always admired how he has these builders that are so loyal to him. And by the way, builders are loyal to no one. And he has these builders that are so loyal to him because he does such a great job. I just now have 2 of those that we have 3 or 4 projects going that next year, the year after, I'm going to have his new builds. And I've always really envied people that get their business that way. So I'm pivoting a little bit too while he's pivoting. And we all need to do that. And I'll end on this not beating yourself up part of the discussion. I'm in a networking group with a bunch of really good agents at different companies. And when interest rates started going up, there was a lot of whining. And one guy in our group says, shut the fuck up. You guys have all made so much money in the last 10 years. It's 1 year. Go take a vacation. And by the way, taking a vacation, I don't know, most of you probably heard this, and it is so true. When you take a vacation, business kind of just shows up. It's when you give yourself a break, when you dig deep into your soul and your faith in you, your faith in God, your faith in your process. Relax. When you try too hard, it's not, in my opinion, it doesn't work. You got to try hard, but you got to have confidence in your gifts. And again, this company is so freaking good at being supportive of all of us. Speaking of Rob McGarry, Rob's always had an assistant until he came to this company. He doesn't need it because Erica's team is so good, and this dude does tons of volume. So you don't need to pay an assistant. Lean into the process. And again, I'm talking and I'm not even good at it. So I do have an assistant. So I'm tasking her. I'm like, all right, let's get into the new age and let's really get into, do we want to spend 10 grand on mailers and farm? I've never farmed before. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe it's something that I'm passionate about. I'll pick that farm and I'll invest the next couple of years of stuff, maybe if there's ROI. But I'm going to talk to people like Gary and people like you guys to tell me whether you really think it works, because if it doesn't, it's a waste of money. If it's not at least giving you profile, you can't put a dollar amount on. You want everybody to know that you're doing business. So whether that's buying expensive ads that don't sell your properties but give you profile, awesome. Then you can justify what that money is.
Yeah. I'm not out of the new builds. It's just not what it was because of rates and the difficulty with dealing with the bureaucratic functions. These cities are just making it that much more difficult. So, somebody's going to look at a new build. It's a 3-year process. That's tough. But we still do it, to a degree, not like it once was. But I think that, we ready to open this up?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you guys want to do questions first, or I want to do the exercise? Again, I'm here to get something out of this as well. So you guys want to go around the room real quick and everybody say one thing that they really use in their business that helps them move the needle? Want to do that first? Is that cool? Yes? No? All right, so let's do that, and then we'll open it up for questions and let it go as long as you guys have them. Okay, so let's just start in the back. Tell us your name, because I don't know everybody in here either, and I want to.
All right, take this off. Hi guys, good morning, Stephen Hodgson, for those of you who haven't met me yet.
Morning.
It's nice to see you like that. So we're gonna talk about something that
Just one thing that, again, my example was not even my example, was get a lunch once a week for 50 weeks out of the year, take a vacation for at least 2 weeks. And, the dollar amount is, say it's $50 a lunch. That's $2,500. I'm telling you, that's one ad in the Beach Reporter. That is or it's a couple ads in the Beach Reporter that will sustain your business for the year. Absolutely. Because you'll get a couple of deals out of past clients or they'll refer you business. So that's just my one tip for all of you guys to do. If you have anything that you just know could work for everybody.
Well, I love that. And somebody who's been doing this for, your lifetime, you've got a set of people you pick up the phone call. I got friends, I've got neighbors, I got people. I'm active in the school back from my church. So I could probably find people that won't grab lunch. One of the things I'm doing right now, just to sort of create my database and to hone in sort of a guide for gold, is really just outreach in town that I'm working with the farming. And so I have a certain set of triggers that I look for in the market. And when that happens, I'll pick up the phone and I'll call around and then I'll follow it up. Most of the time you get voicemails or bad numbers or whatever, and you're just sitting there dialing. And I'll send them an email. Be like, hey, this happened, this affects you. This is significant to you because it affects the value of your home. And I try to sell them quickly, within the blurb. It says, savvy homeowners, you should want to be a savvy homeowner, know the value of their home is affected by things that happen in the market. And then what I have is I have an 8-and-8 drip campaign that follows that on email automatically. So anytime I send somebody an email, they get 8 more emails than 8 use. And ActivePipe is a great way of telling me up and coming contacts. Who's interacting with the emails I'm sending? Who's clicking it? Who's sending it? Who's opening it? Who's looking at it?
What emails do they do? The company generated, just informative emails of
yeah,
those?
There's a couple of those. How I value your home. What's your house worth? Money talk. Like the perspective of value of money. Do you value a lower payment? Do you value a lower interest rate?
But you're not writing these. Our company is doing this for you.
I've written a majority.
Okay.
It's just things that I think are things that I would have because they come from me, right? Being authentic. An authentic voice. These are the things that I would talk about if we were face to face. So I'm sending you blurbs about how I go about my process.
Got it.
And when I take those people, those group of people that have I've identified as interacting with my material, I'll send them a note in the mail. They're like, hey, if there's any chance to jump on a business or jump on a call, I'm looking forward to an opportunity to be of service. And then I'll call them again when something happens in their neighborhood when I'm just circle calling. And they'll pick up, they see my number, or I talk, hey, it's Stephen Hodgson, somebody's like, hey, how are you? What's going on?
All right, Stephen, awesome. We're not going to finish if everybody takes that much time. So my apologies. Those are great ideas. I'm writing these down. Let's move on. Thank you. And everybody, let's try to button it up in 30 seconds to a minute. Great ideas. Thank you so much.
The second part of what I'm just kidding.
You're out, Stephen.
Let's do it.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, good job.
Yeah, take notes on these. These are
So
awesome.
what I've done that everyone's heard before is that I invite my best referral source to a lunch. I do that. And the last time I did it, she brought another referral. So it's just a great way to go. And our referrals, I love that idea that you said 4. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I've certainly got 3 other people I should be calling and doing that same thing and doing that,
Do it.
that lunch. So I'm on with it.
Cool. Thank you. Next.
Theodora here.
Hi.
So we are working on our core clients. We do dinners with them throughout the year. So we're very consistent with that. Another thing that we do.
So you like putting booze in your meal. I like that. So that might bring it to another level.
We're dinner people. And we do birthday cards religiously. And Mother's Day cards, I have done it for 2 years on a roll. And great return on investment.
Good deal.
Kyle Daniels. I farm Belmonte pretty consistently. Been doing it for a while. Started with door knocking when I couldn't afford mailers, and now I mail it regularly. But try to make kind of that idea of being just there. I love it when someone says, "Hey, I need a painter or whatever." So just if they're thinking of something about their house, try to be in that circle.
Who here door knocks regularly? Nobody.
Oh, I do.
Do you?
I mean, whenever,
Is it-
yeah.
Or do you do it around when you have a listing? That's
Yes.
I mean, that's a great reason
Or like
to be.
or something, I
Yeah.
did something, because then I can say, this is what happened, I'm letting you know.
I think it's, especially if you're in a lull and you just want something to do, it's something that is very good and active. And one of my first deals in residential real estate, I actually asked somebody that had a listing, I go, can I go door knock for you? All of us would allow each other to do that if they want to. It made the flyer with my name on it, went out, and the listing ended up, they didn't sell it, and I felt kind of bad about it, but my friend knew about it. They gave me the listing after that person couldn't sell it. So there's no bad blood. It was all up. I wasn't trying to get around to them or anything, but that person saw, here's a guy whose property this isn't even his, and he's out here promoting it for me. So yeah, I'd highly advise getting some door knocking into a weekly regimen, even if it's one period for 2 hours. And again, the more organized you can be in your calendar, the easier it is. So say you're door knocking, you set for Thursdays from 2 to 4. It's just a smart thing to have it on your calendar. All right, next. Thanks, Cal.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ludo Axelman. Most of you guys know me. That's great. I think I'm in line with Gary. I love open houses. I do them. I meet people, but I'm still very new, so I'm working on that conversion. So it's good to listen to everything that you have to say.
So according to whoever did the Ninja stats, 15-1 for open houses. So I'm an anomaly. Don't listen to me. I just don't like to do them. But if you're good at them and you do them, those are people that are actively looking for a house, right? So if you can woo them, you're going to make money from it.
It takes practice.
Yeah.
I think some years I would do 48 out of 52 weeks. I always did it. So there was a lot of practice, a lot of mistakes. And because I take license and interject levity a lot of times. You gotta be careful with that.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't have
In
me like
today's
me.
world.
Don't do what I do. You know. Next.
Everyone. Oh, sorry. Jacqueline Stive. I have been trying different things. One of the things that I've done over the last almost couple of years is consistently shoot out videos to help me create a name. As we all know, we saw some amazing pools around here, so we all hang out with the same name. So I want to make sure that when people hear my name, they see me as, oh yes, you bring value to the community. So my videos go out all on social media, on my active vibe. I like to take what Maddie does and then add my own things. So don't be afraid to add a little paragraph or just change the words. Yes, she writes beautifully, but put in your personality and put that out there for everybody.
Jacqueline, do you just send them to your social media, or do you buy a zip code?
I don't buy. I like
Okay.
to be organic. I like to have, I like to know who's following me. We all get a lot of weirdos that waste your time. I
Right.
don't want to deal with that people. I've been there. It's just a waste of your time. So be organic on your contributions. I am on the local mommy groups, buying groups. You ask, I go myself into social media a lot. I do get business from there, and just
So great way for free exposure. And remember, right next to my office in the back here, we've got this amazing studio. I haven't done it yet.
come and use it.
Yeah, use it. Thanks,
Next.
Jacqueline. Next.
Hey guys, I'm Julio. One of the things that we've been doing that's been working for us so I joined my mom's group during the pandemic, and that was a time when you put a property on the MLS, it gets sold. Now it's a little bit different. So what we changed about I want to say maybe 8 months ago or at the beginning of the year is that every weekend I started giving lists of people who came to see the property to the owner, and that list of people had their names, their phone numbers, whether or not they had agents or not, what they said about the property, because when it's not coming from you, the feedback, and it's coming from the market, it's it's received differently. So those updates, when they don't have to communicate to you, hey, what's going on with our listing, we don't hear that anymore. It's coming from us, and that headache is removed from the whole transaction because it's not that communication isn't that lack of communication isn't there anymore. That awkwardness isn't there anymore.
By the way, you and your mom need to do one of these. They get so much business all over the place. And I would love to hear, again, we all do business differently. So it's so interesting to hear how a top producer especially does their business.
You know what, Julio, you touched on a point too. There's a attrition rate in our business that is between 90 and 95% in a regular market. In a market like this, it's higher. So you're going to see an exodus of a lot of agents. So, based on what you just shared, you're implementing different ways in which to augment or build your business. A client of mine that just became a client. Matter of fact, I was going to touch on this when Greg mentioned it. I fired 2 clients 2 weeks ago for various reasons, and the universe brought me this new client, and she had let go of her other agent and said, I want you. And so I took her and her husband to dinner. We closed an escrow in the first 2 weeks of our new business relationship. But in our conversation over dinner Friday night, she said, this is the time that we like to buy because everybody's afraid. And I said, Warren Buffett, buy when they're afraid.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're on a mission right now, this brand new client, that let's go. So I love what you just said. I think that is really cool. And I know we got to keep moving, but I just wanted to bring that up, is that don't live in fear when the market changes like this. Embrace it. That's, to me, it's an opportunity, and I know Greg has been around long enough too, is that if we embrace it rather than shy away, then that's love.
Absolutely.
Fear, love. So.
Good deal. Thanks, Julio.
Good morning, I'm Priscilla. I'm with the Nancy Dupre team. Something that we do or that I do multiple times a year is when I call my past clients, not related to like just asking for a business or just checking in on them, sending them another copy of their final statement if they need it for tax season, sending them a holiday card. Maybe it's their anniversary, maybe it's their birthday. So just calling them just to kind of touch on them or make an impression on them, to keep them top of mind and, not just say, hey, I just sold this or I just listed this.
Yeah, you're giving them something. You give them the closing statement, which is awesome because that diffuses that, oh, here she is again.
Don't neglect past clients. Every real estate company will tell you that statistically, when you close a deal, 90% of people will say they'll use you again. 25% use you again. And I love how Gary and I are the same. If we lose a deal from somebody that we know, or God forbid, somebody that was a client, I blame myself. And I blame myself for not keeping in an impactful way, keeping in touch with that client.
There's a term that I use, it's already always listening. And what that really means in plain English is a predetermined thought. So there's an imaginary conceptual domain here, and there's a domain of action. The domain of action means I'm getting off my butt and going to work, or sending them a closing statement, copy of it. I love that idea. The imaginary conceptual domain is I shoulda, woulda, coulda. And so I'm going to sit on the couch and think about what could have happened had I been in action. The action is I was there doing open house, or I was taking those steps. And so that has made all the difference too. And so we've got to stay away from the woulda, shoulda, couldas, because again, that's fear-based.
Yep. I get you.
My name's Spencer Tosich, brand new this year.
Spencer?
My wife, Sheena. We're very new, just kind of in the learning stages. We're just getting our name out there to everybody we know and everybody in our farm. One thing I like is like Steve was talking about, the active title. So I use the title company, get some emails of our farm, and then also I do little radiuses around my really tight family friends or close friends. We live in Torrance, so we hit that, and hasn't worked in terms of a sale yet, but we definitely notice when we walk to school, our kids go to school in the same neighborhood we walk, and people are like, oh, I got your email, or oh, I got your mailer, and stuff like that.
That's the beginning. That's the infancy stages.
Yeah.
How do you address that? It's an interesting point. So you're both new agents. Okay, so how do you address the human fear that you're going up against people that have been doing this for years? Like how, I know it's in you. When you talk to somebody about real estate, in the back of your mind, when I've switched from commercial to residential, I go, I'm freaking better than residential real estate. I conjured my own power to say, if anybody asks me if I'm a new residential agent, which I was, I'm going to have so many things to dispel that crap. How do you guys do it?
I think for me, one thing is just life experience. I've had that. I'm actually currently a firefighter for LA County, so in helping people, I've always enjoyed that. And I've done a lot of real estate research and investing in my own prior to getting to this point. So I know a little bit about
that's what you use. You're a lot of people come into this business as previous investors.
You're the ultimate contribution by being a firefighter or a doctor or a police officer. That's awesome. So it's inherent and it's authentic within you versus, trying to be manufactured and phony and all that fun stuff. So, that's a great springboard for you. So way to go, dude.
Totally. Lean on both.
She's got an experience
I'll
too.
speak since we are.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just how it works.
That's a great marketing.
That's what I'm saying.
My background is interior design, so I did a lot of custom homes in the area, so I think that confidence comes out in me.
Awesome.
Knowing houses, having a vision, we're trying to work that into our own personal business on adding design and services into it all.
To totally do that.
Hire, we'll design it for you on the back end or on the front end to get it ready, but that's where my confidence.
Barbie Pappas in our company, who's a top earner, that's what she does. Susan Jensen in our market, we call her Jensenizing her properties, because she throws in that, I don't have that gift, I got to bring somebody with me, but I actually do absorb some of that cost for my clients. But that's an amazing thing to throw in.
And you put out fires.
That's what.
Exactly. That's a good way, good advertising for
So when your deal's going screwy, you know how to put out the fire, bro.
Right. I love it.
That's a great line that you just said.
Good luck to you
Credit
guys.
goes to you.
You guys came to the right company. This is chock full of resources. And I know all of the local ones. And hey, again, we were able to get this big fish from Warren Buffett. So yeah, this is a great place for you guys to be. Sure. Next.
Yeah, Max
Oh.
Teschendorf with the Roger Teschendorf Real Estate Group.
Uh-huh.
Fairly new, joined her about 7-8 months ago.
Are you Canadian?
Was that?
Are you Canadian?
No, I'm from North Dakota.
Oh, I just heard the her. Pretty close.
Yeah. No, but what I found to work is supporting the lenders and whatever they're passionate about, regardless if I'm gonna find any on value there. But as long as I show up there and show that, they invite me and I'm just gonna, be there supporting them, and any fruits of the labor that can come from it, I found successful, and I actually got a deal out of it. So he sold a house in Whittier, and he just said,
Well, support them, but also use them. This is, a year ago, nobody cared where they got their money. They just got it from somewhere and it was cheap. Now it's expensive. So we can all be a really good resource for our clients to help them with options in where they get their loans. Cool.
Person.
I'm Ted Farmer. I love to do open houses. That has been, what I love the most. Door knocking, which I'm not doing anymore. And Gary Goldberg, thanks so much for you both today. It's so nice to see you express from your heart, especially when we talk about beliefs, faith. I'm talking about myself. I do have a little fear sometimes to express the faith among peers or whatever, because people look like, oh my gosh, when you talk about God, people, so it's a very delicate subject. I'm glad you brought this in. So with you, faith is everything, and belief, which I'm losing my fear.
Lose your fear. We all know we are in a toxic time in history right now, and people need to talk about their faith.
I'm a very shy person when you speak in group. I'm not a shy person, but when I'm around people, I'm freezing. But I said, I'm gonna lose my fear and say that thanks so much for bringing this today. It is amazing you both. And so now I'm doing a lot of Actify, which is awesome, and text people. Because the young people, they don't like to be talked on the phone. So I think text people in the social media is something that could be good.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that what my experience has been is it's not about a manipulation. Use me because I go to church. That's baloney.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it doesn't sound like you're that way at all. And so that's what can also vaporize that fear, is because you are authentic and it's in your heart, and it will emanate, and people will sense that you're, solid and trustworthy. So, it's not, because you're shaving your head and wearing an orange costume at the airport. As I'm saying. So.
And I never knew you that tip as I know today, because I know you for a long time. But today you expressed somebody that I never knew.
That's the beauty of
well, if you were his client, you'd know.
The beauty of these get-togethers, thanks to Ricky and Holly, is that we get to know each other better, and then it opens up an environment that we can do this freely within one-on-one interactions as we're passing each other in the hallway or at the water cooler or on floor time or whatever, and supporting each other. That's what this is an invitation to in my mind. It's so joyful.
My name is Philip Lalonde. I'm in the Malgard office and a very, behind the years, agent. I did my South Bay Association of Realtors orientation just over a month ago. I have a long history in property management and as a real estate investor, and a recently kind of new journey being an old dad of a 4-year-old, 6-year-old. So I returned from living in Venice Beach for 30 years. I returned back to Palos Verdes where I was raised. What I'm getting so much from both of you gentlemen today is that the authenticity, speaking of spiritual aspects in the most authentic, heartfelt way, and kind of bashing around the idea that you would wear that as some sort of performative thing. What is the authentic, integral part? what I'm doing with my just building out the first things is being as much in service to my kids and their school and their process and their neighborhood as I can be, and taking 20 odd years of experience as a film producer and I had an art gallery in Venice for 10 amazing years. And I worked my list of collectors in the same way that I'm developing a list of clients that I'm working with.
What's your first name?
Philip.
Philip. So what I would say, one of the things that you mentioned is that I'm an old dad, is I would dispense with that because that's going to create a block.
Oh, well, I'm embracing that.
There you go. Yeah, because
I'd love to have young kids again. Embrace it.
Kids at Rolling Hills Montessori and Rolling Hills Country Day, not sending them to Chadwick where I went, and I'm finding a community in that.
Right on, bro.
So it's not, don't take that as a pejorative that
I was just pointing it out just to be in support of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. A lot of these young dads need old dads to show them the ropes. They're a little stuffy. So you can be that.
Child rearing in a far more, I think, attentive and intentional manner. And that when you talk about your path and that the kids are now out of I want to have that same awareness that I did not lose that experience. I came from a completely different family of origin. I'm grateful for it. But if by the time I'm doing it, my kids are priority one. So then my circles expand from that into that connection. So
every new person in the business, I don't want to say young because we all joined this business. This is a business of people that have been professionals in other businesses first. Probably most of us, if we were to take a survey. And I would say he said that when his kids graduated, and Chris Adlam is another perfect example of this. Chris was a big time broker, but he went into the stratosphere when his kids got out of the house. I've been leaning on the fact that my kids helped me get a lot of business. Now they're going out of the house. So it's guys like you guys that give me a ton of confidence that my business is not going to wane. It's going to flourish as my kids get older. So you're in that first stage of that. I experienced it, loved it. You're in where you're raised. I was raised in the Palisades. If I worked there, I would be getting my mom's Rolodex, and I would be keeping in touch with every family that I grew up with. So you can dive right back into that. You got an amazing narrative to go on.
Next.
My name's Greg Summers. My biggest tool that I use in my business is just my experience in real estate. A lot of my friends in my generation are either first-time home buyers, they're a lot younger and they don't really have the knowledge. There's a lot of fear with getting into the market now, and so my greatest tool is being able to squash that fear and provide myself as a good, valuable asset and make sure that I instill confidence. And
so give one thing that you do. What do you do that helps move the needle for you?
Well, a lot of times they're scared of making a decision, like a real estate decision or even a remodeling decision. I have a lot of experience with remodels, and just telling them that it's going to be okay, that it's not actually that scary of a process, that we can get past this, and there are contractors and vendors to be able to, solve your problems.
Got it.
Next.
I'm Lynn Potter, and what I've been trying to do more than anything is really lean in seriously to relationships, whether they're past clients, even if I think, they just bought a new house, they're young buyers, they're not going to be buying anything for long, I'm sticking with that. I'm leaning into.
Think of all their friends that might be buying.
I'm leaning into those people as someone that can be of service, and I want to take the news that we see all the time and look for the opportunities. And I try to, every time I get myself in the situation, what's the opportunity here in this maybe negative scenario or in the negative news line? What opportunity can I share as a service? So I work on that, and I really appreciate you guys being here today. It's great.
Next.
Ann St. Cyr. I am trying to be much better at personal notes, like Gary was talking about, ramp those up. I stay in touch with my past clients. I need to increase taking them out for lunches, but I do that some. And I always let them know that I want to be their resource if they need a vendor, if they need it. It doesn't even have to be real estate related. My goal is to have them think of me first when they need something before. I want to be a one-stop shop so they go, oh, she's our girl, we need to call. So that's what I've been working on.
Great.
Hi, everyone. I'm Raquel Rogers, and as long as I've been in the business, my most profitable source of business has been referrals, and it's also the type of work I like to do the most. I'm very social, and so I do what feels good for me. I'm very social. I love to, I show up authentically. I don't show up like I'm running for mayor, like, hey, you know, passing out business cards. If I go to a birthday, a barbecue, a volleyball game, I'm just chill. And whoever I talk to, I listen to them. I'm a really good listener authentically. Like, they start talking about something, I ask questions. I remember things. And it's like when I connect with them at that level, I'll remember their name. I'll remember the details of what we talked about because I'm not in my head and I'm not sitting there talking about me. And I just do that because that's how I enjoy connecting with people. But I noticed that in the last year, because I realized my business was dipping because I'm so comfortable receiving referrals all the time that when the market overall slows a little bit, I'm not going to keep getting that influx of referrals. So I'm like, wait a minute, I need to add more people to my database. So for about the last year, I've been working in my community in all the ways that I'm enjoying adding people, getting to know people, connecting them. And I'm noticing now the baby sprouts from that, which is I'll be at the store and people just go up to me like, hey, Raquel. And I'll say, hey, how have you been? You know, but in my head, I'm like, oh my God, is this from soccer? Is this from And then I just talk a little bit and I just, you know, I'll be like, what's new? And they'll talk for a second and I'm like, okay. And then I'm able to, then I'll remember, you know, because when you are meeting with a lot of people, even if it's authentically, it does take a couple touches to really learn all of them, but they remember you.
And after you do, make sure somebody said text. I haven't used text really I use text in business, but not to get business. So that you're right. People pay attention to text more than email sometimes. I would say definitely if you have a meaningful conversation with somebody, Raquel, your business is mine. I believe in being social outside of business, and that's what gets me business, and not being in the face at all of people, and just follow up with them. Kick them a text, kick them an email, tell them how great it was talking to them, mention something that you guys talked about, which shows your authenticity, and don't talk about anything about real estate. Maybe your signature stamps on the bottom, so subliminally they'll see that, but keep in touch with them without necessarily throwing, in my opinion, real estate in the forefront. To me, that's annoying. And there's a lot of us in that business that do that, and it annoys me.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say that's it. You know, do whatever you love, be social, be authentic, and be a good listener. And then I'll add one more part to be a good listener is if somebody's saying, oh, we're having a third baby, or oh, my place is too small, or oh, we're going to have a job transfer, make a mental note. Because even if somebody
don't make a mental note, go excuse yourself, put it in your calendar, and get with them. Yeah. No, not yeah. Follow up with them.
Because now you add them to a list where you're like, okay, whatever your system is to keep in touch with that person. But when you are open ears, people open up to you and people remember you and people trust you.
My mental notes are like sieves. I have to put it in my calendar to do an action step. Okay, next.
Hi. I'm Nancy DePrey.
Hi, Nancy.
I work with Priscilla Romero. So together we tend to have an approach that we want to do the best job possible for clients that we get. And we want to make sure that we're going to be invited to parties that they have. If we see them socially again, we're doing right by them. So we found that that's worked really well. One thing I do is I'm in a running group. So I go pretty regularly. It's one of those do the things you love. And then people know me.
Those are great.
I refer people and you know, I want to see them on.
And it keeps you in shape.
Yeah.
Keeps you healthy. Good deal. Thank you, Nancy. Next. Oh, one back there, sorry.
I'm Lauren Hurwitt,
Everybody met yet? So I've been with Vista for a handful of years, a couple of years. Before that, I was a financial advisor, wealth manager for 13 years or so. And one of the things that we did in our, I feel like I'm in the middle. One of the things we did in our team as wealth managers is at the end of every year, we donated money and said, hey, clients, as a part of our means of giving back, we're taking a portion of our commissions and we're donating to this cause. And thank you so much for allowing us to make this impact. And so one of the things I decided to do this last year, and we'll see if it comes to fruition, is I work at my kids go to a public school in Talisbury, it's like a co-op school, so I'm there all the time. And I decided that the one thing I wanted to give back was to schools, because I have young kids and that's where my network mostly is. So I've been putting on my email tag and I've done some ads and stuff just saying, hey, with every commission or with every transaction, every time we work together, I'll give back to a school of your choice. So that's going to be the thing that I'm going to do going forward. We'll see if it works. And
awesome.
It's important to me. So yeah.
Good deal. Thank you.
Sir, Ingo Schultz, newer agent, about 6 months, but I've been investing in real estate for a while, so that's kind of where I ended up on this path. So yeah, I'm similar boat as Raquel. I come from a concierge business, one thing on the East Coast. So always leverage those contacts, and so I want to be active here and just create as many relationships as possible, and just speak on just past experiences and experiences that I'm not necessarily all pertaining to real estate, but tie that in so they're aware that I'm kind of in this field. So, and then with Back at You and all those social medias, even if calling someone's great, texting someone's great, if you could just see their story and just actually, I haven't for 2 years, I'll just comment on their story and they're like, oh wow, great to hear from you. Just little subtle things like that.
And then follow up with them in person.
Yeah. You got to maintain.
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Good luck. Next.
My name is Nicola. I'm
Hi, Nicola.
very new here at Vista. I came from West Shores Realty. Been a real estate agent for 10 years, but one of the things I like to do, especially for my kids, in the morning I'll listen to Earl Nightingale. You guys find him on YouTube. He'll really change your mindset. So once your mind's ready to go, especially with business and your day, then it really helps me a lot. I usually also do a city of the week on social media, and it's fun. It's not always about real estate. I also talk about a restaurant and food, and I also have a Bible study every Wednesday from Hope Chapel here in Hermosa Beach, and that's it. That's my sphere. But I really think it starts in your mind, and you really got to get mentally prepared to not have fear, like Gary said. He will erase that if you guys listen to.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm Lou Outland. There's several different ways I approach my interactions. A lot of it is an easy way out through Facebook. I have over 4,000 followers, and what it does, it just queues up the next set of birthdays. I always put the birthday option with the names on them, and I just get tons of responses. I've gotten several different leads that way. And other than that, I do community involvement, political, very political in Torrance. And then now that I'm on the board in PV, I intend to work with the government affairs and just whatever they're doing.
Does it get you business? Is that a way of getting in front of people where
Yes, it's my way of getting in front of people.
Great.
And allowing them to get a chance to know me. Like we just did a recent fundraiser for a young boy with cancer. His parents, Tennessee Raging Cajun, down in Redondo. We didn't have a lot of time to put it together, but I helped one of the vendors down there, and then we got the Redondo Beach Police to match funds. And people remember that. And they, that's a way to connect.
Sure they do. Good deal. Thank you. Hello.
I'm Kathy Siegel.
I think the key for me is staying in contact with referrals, friends, past clients. I think if people go back and evaluate your business, you will see that's probably where the lion's share of your business comes from. And then the ninja, for me, my affirmation is do the hard stuff first. And I think what we don't do is focus on the hard stuff. I think we can easily get the checklist of the simple. I think you build confidence by doing the hard stuff.
Cool. Thanks, Kathy.
Hi everyone, Tara Bliss. I joined Sotheby's back in April, and so I am a bit newer, so I'm trying to get creative in my approach and my business plan over the next quarter. And one thing I realized starting out is I don't have very many people's addresses, so I'm going to send out a Christmas card, which I've never done before. So that's a creative way of obtaining everyone's address, and then I think back too on what I really enjoy doing, which is hosting people and bringing people together. So I'm going to host like a Thanksgiving, and then just provide service to agents here in Sotheby's throughout the holiday season and offer to do open houses.
Good deal. Best of luck.
Michelle.
I'm Michelle Abel. Everyone, I've been here for a year and a half. So newer agent, I'm doing a little bit of everything, trying to figure out what works. I love open houses, but one little different thing I do is just because I think it's hard to meet people in your neighborhood. People just come home and they're in their houses. But I have dogs. I love dogs. I foster dogs, so I'm walking my dogs a lot. And I wear a Sotheby's jacket or a hat, and I meet a lot of people on dog walks. I've seen Kathy out on dog walks.
I wasn't walking a dog.
No, you're walking
my
a baby.
granddog.
It's much cuter, but I meet people with babies too. So yeah, so far, I've met a lot of people. It's led to one lease listing. But he wrote me a glowing review and he was so happy, and so he offered to refer me. And so that's something that I could see growing my neighborhood.
Grow your database of just people that you know and like you. They can all be clients. So don't just key in on you being a new agent and just people that you're meeting and talking about real estate. Anybody can be your client. So use that. Best of luck. I didn't know how many new agents there were here. It's not an easy business, but it's a business that you can do really well if you stick to it.
And lean on the Sotheby's brand.
Totally.
And our support staff.
Yep.
When you're new, it's, my team.
Right. You got 270 people.
Yeah.
Rachel, real quick. Raquel, sorry.
Greg, you started to tell us about your great pyramid scheme, and I was taking copious notes, but then you stopped.
No, I told it. No, it was the four people that would die for you. So the pyramid is, they give you 4 people. Yes. If you only get one deal out of, and those 4 people are people looking to do something.
Right.
And if you get just one of those, you make $100,000. One, you do 4 deals.
So it's a short pyramid.
Yeah. Well, I want everybody. Yeah. Well, it's a big pyramid if you keep going. So that's the first year. I just want you guys to know that you do the bare minimum, and you can make $100,000. Literally, but those 4 people need to be your advocates, 100%. And then the people that they refer, you hopefully befriend them and they become your advocates too.
That's great. Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Gary, Greg, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for all your ideas. Appreciate it.
I may not understand geometry, but really helpful. Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys sharing so much.
You bet. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
You bet. Thanks, Rick.
Hi, Nancy. I did, but